One, two. Guitar tips. Guitar tips. Guitar tips. Just the tips, just for you. Guitar tips. Hello and welcome to Guitar Tips. Welcome, my name is Adam Levy. This is my weekly video blog series. I post a new tip here each and every Friday right here on this YouTube channel. I hope that you will become a regular viewer and maybe even a subscriber. There's a big red button down below. It says subscribe, or maybe if you're in a country where they don't speak English as the main language, maybe it says something else. But here in Los Angeles, if you're on the YouTube, the red button says subscribe. So it's easy to do, and I hope that you will. Guitar Tips is brought to you by Martin Guitar Strings. Those are the strings here on this guitar. I wish you could hear them. I mean, you can hear them. You're hearing them now, but here in the room they sound really, really good. I don't know if you're watching this on your phone or your laptop or your some sort of gadget. Who knows what the fidelity is like, but I use this guitar with these strings and they sound good. So thank you, Martin Strings. Free bonus plug for Martin Guitars. I'm just really happy with the stuff that they do. So thank you, good Martin people in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Okay, on with the tips, actually just one tip per episode. That's usually how I do it. Occasionally it's a bundle, but this week I'm following the usual path of one tip. The tip is Dorian is Dorian. Dorian is Dorian. So if you're lost, if that makes no sense to you at all, if you're already lost, stay tuned. I hope this will make sense to you by the end. And if you know what Dorian is, then I hope you'll find this tip useful and interesting. So there's been some comments going back and forth here on my YouTube channel. Some of the comments on recent episodes, people have been talking about different modes and how do they work. And I think somebody asked, what do you do on a G mixolydian, say, for example. And somebody else said, well, it's the same as a C major scale. So there you go. Just play C major, but start on the 5th degree. So let me break that down, because that already that much might be confusing. So here's a C major scale. I'm going to play it just in open position. So that's something that hopefully you can understand. That's a C scale, as in do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or the white notes on a piano, or however you think of a C scale. It's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So somebody many years ago figured out that that's a scale unto itself. But what if you started on the second note of the C scale? What if you started on the D and played a scale that started and ended on D, but using the same notes, still using C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, but starting on D. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. It's not a D scale, even though we're starting and ending on D, because a D major scale would be D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And that's different than what I played a moment ago, where I played D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And you could do that with all the notes of the C scale. and if even a major scale is not clear to you what that is, it's a series of whole steps and half steps, and there's a very specific pattern. If I'll start on D just because, and I'm going to just stay on this one string, on the D string, and from the lowest note, or Do, we go up a whole step, that's Re, up another whole step, that's Mi, and then a half step, that's Fa, and then whole step, So, whole step, La, whole step, Ti, half step, Do. So from the starting point, whole, half, whole, half. And that's the pattern for a major scale. Whatever note you start on, the pattern is the same. You could start on F, and you go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. I'm doing it on one string to make it visually clear, but most of the time when we play scales, we tend to play in position. So a C scale in open position would be this: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if we started on, now we'll go back to talking about modes. So if you start on the second degree of the C scale, if you start on the D, or the Re, and make a scale going Re to Re, you have Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, Re. It's not a D major scale, it's a D something else. And commonly that's called D Dorian. D Dorian. And you could continue like that through the C scale, starting on different notes. You could start on E or Mi, and you could go E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. I'm going to play an E bass note just to kind of make it a little more clear for your ear. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Sounds vaguely flamenco-y, Spanish-y. That's just a sort of a general mood. I'm not saying that that's something they really use a lot in flamenco music, but when you play that scale for people, often they have some kind of association with that kind of sound. And it is good, I think, and helpful to have some sort of mood or some specific association with each of the modes. There are 7 modes. Starting on one starting on Do, one starting on Re. That was Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, Re, Mi. You could start on Fa or F, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. And each of these has a really specific mood and sound, because the pattern where the half steps are in a major scale get shifted around, where those 2 half steps fall. So no 2 modes sound alike. Once you get into them, you would never confuse one mode for the other. And hopefully so far so good. So far so good. It's not really a two-way conversation, but you can comment down below. You can also send me an email if you like. If you want a little more clarity, guitartips@adamlevy.com. That's GUITARTIPS @ADAMLEVY.com. Okay, hopefully so far so good. Now, when you start getting away from this open position approach to guitar playing and a little higher up the neck, you have these movable shapes. This is a 2-octave C scale up here. And then, so people start to memorize these. Some people know them as like 3-note per string fingerings, or more position oriented. But however you slice it, there's really a finite number of different ways that we can play scales on the neck. And so some people find it useful or helpful to use the same fingering pattern in different contexts, because once you get the finger pattern memorized, then you have some muscle memory going. You don't have to think about it too much. You can just let your fingers run up and down the scale. So fair enough. That could be a useful way to approach it, the mechanics of it. So that leads to things like, if somebody says, hey, I'm playing over this tune and there's 4 bars of D minor 7, I heard somewhere that you could play D Dorian over a D minor 7, and sure enough, you can. Here's a D minor 7 chord, and here's a D Dorian. Just using just notes from the D Dorian. Right, it's kind of jazzy. It's not limited to jazz, but to a lot of people's ears, Dorian sounds kind of jazzy. So some people would say, well, it's the same notes as a C scale, so if you already know how to play a C scale, just play a C scale. If you don't know a Dorian mode scale, and the gig is now, and there's 4 bars of D minor 7, and you don't know what to do, it's the same notes as a C scale, so just play a C scale. So, in a way, that's helpful, in that it can get you playing something right now. If you don't know D Dorian, it might take somebody a few minutes to explain, what the fingering is or how to think about it or whatever. But if you already know a C scale, this presumes that you know some major scale fingerings. But presuming you're at a point in your development where you know some major scale fingerings, some people are likely to say, hey, if there's a shortcut. You don't have to learn different fingerings for all these modes. Just, if the chord symbol is D minor 7 and you want to play D Dorian over that, just play C scale. So that's not wrong. I mean, it gets your fingers to the right notes, but it really, I think, adds a layer of unnecessary thinking. It'd be like saying, hey, we need a D minor 7 chord, and you say, oh, geez, I don't know a voicing for D minor 7. And I say, oh, no problem. It's exactly the same as a C major 7. Just you have to change the B to an A, and you have to change the G to an F, and you have to change the E to a D. Meanwhile, the band is already on to some new chord. You would never really say, oh, if the chord is D minor 7, just play C major 7. That would not be a helpful bit of information, because they're two different things. So that's really, I could go on with lots of different examples of complicated thinking, but I'll tell you a funny story. It has something to do with this, but not exactly. So if nothing else, you'll get a funny story out of this guitar tip. Years ago, I was moving from Los Angeles to San Francisco. I was packing up my car, and there was a little girl who lived next door, and she was whatever age you're at when you're just starting to get into math and how math works. And she kept running over as I'm loading junk into my car, and she would say, what's 4 plus 3? And I would think about it, and I'd say, well, I think that's 7. And she would laugh and run back in the house. And this went on. She would, what's 6 minus 4? I think that's 2. And then as the day went on, it got more complicated, and she was doing, what's 3 plus 2 plus 5? And I'd have to think about it and do the math. And at one point she came out and she said, okay, what's 4 plus 3 minus 8? And I said, well, that's hard to explain, because that's a number that's less than 0. And she looked at me with a really kind of puzzled look on her face, and she said, less than 0? Is that like blast off? Blast off is less than 0. And I said, yes, it's exactly. Blast off is less than 0. You got it. And I guess what made me think of that just now is, you don't want to make things unnecessarily complex. So when you see a D minor 7 chord symbol on a page, really take it for what it is. It's a chord whose root is D. Okay, it's the root of D minor 7 is not C, it's D. And it's not a major sounding chord. It's a minor sounding chord. So if you play a C scale over it, you're in your mind and in your muscle memory, you're going to emphasize the C, and you're going to think major kind of thoughts. And that could lead, of course, that could lead to some interesting sounds, but it could also lead to some notes that aren't as sweet as you might hope, because the notes that sound sweet over C major 7 to your taste may or may not be the same notes that sound sweet over D minor 7. So I would just encourage you to think of D minor 7 as D minor 7, and think of Dorian as a kind of, a chord is the 7 notes of a scale kind of stacked up in a kind of a ladder. You have the root, the 3, which is a minor 3 in this case. You have the 5, you have the 7, which is again a flat 7. I'm saying a minor 3 and a flat 7. That would be relative to if this were a D major scale, which it's not. We're thinking D minor, D Dorian. So it's F natural. That's normally in a D scale you have F sharp, but here we have F natural. So that's why I say it's a minor 3rd or 5th, a flat 7, again relative to what happens in a major version of D. So flat 7, 9, 11, 13. So again, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. That's the scale stacked up, going every other note. Instead of going D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, we go D, we leave out the E, we play F, we leave out the G, we go A, C, E. I guess we could do this. And then we're back home at D. So think of how related those two things are. The scale is related to the chord at hand. D minor 7 is related to D Dorian. If you separate them, you're just making things unnecessarily complex, and you're adding a layer of calculation that might be fine in the practice room, but when you're actually on a gig, if you have to start making things, because right now we're keeping it pretty easy. We're using the key of C as our kind of basis of things, so it's all natural notes. But you get into like, okay, what is E flat Dorian, or what is F sharp Dorian? And again, by the time you figure it out, the band is onto the next chord, and maybe you've lost the gig. So that's what this week's tip is. Dorian is Dorian, Mixolydian is Mixolydian, Phrygian is Phrygian, Lydian is Lydian. Make little chord progressions for yourself that you can jam over. Like, just jam over D minor 7 for a while. If you need a second chord, go D minor 7, E minor 7. That's a very typical Dorian sound. Or you could go D minor 7 to G7, or D minor 7 to A minor 7. Any two kind of related chords that come from the same pool of notes. And you could do that for all the modes. Make up little 2-chord vamps and just solo over those, and really try and get that sound into your ears. Each mode is a different mood. It's a different character. Let them be those different characters. The 7 dwarfs, happy is happy, grumpy is grumpy, dopey is dopey, doc is doc, bashful is bashful. Did I get them all? I don't know if I got them all. Anyway, you get the idea. Don't make things complicated unnecessarily. Dorian is Dorian. I'm Adam Levy. Adam Levy is Adam Levy. And you're you. I hope you will stay tuned and take good care.